my name is Sue. I work at the Whitby Public Library. Thank you for joining us for this recording of Calm Your Anxious Mind and Body. We're joined by presenter Joan Hunt, and she is a mindfulness-based stress reduction teacher and a clinical social worker. Mindfulness and meditation practices can help with feelings of anxiousness and reduce feelings of stress. And Joan is going to take us through some mindful breathing, do a compassionate body scan, and also a kindness practice. Again, thank you for joining us, and I hope you enjoy the recording.
I'm now going to do a settling practice now that we've done our introductions and welcomed ourselves, and which will be about five or 6 minutes. If there's anything that I say or anything that you don't want to do, don't bother doing it. So just give yourself permission if you just want to sit and just take it all in. That is perfectly acceptable. Okay. So when I ring the bells, that's us going into practice. So bringing awareness to this moment. And perhaps that we will begin by taking 3 breaths to help us settle. So breathing in as deeply as you can through the nostrils, and then breathing out through the mouth. And if you can, as you're breathing in, filling the lungs, perhaps pressing the belly out, trying to extend the exhaling breath. Just making it as long as you possibly can. So breathing in, 2, 3, 4. Exhaling, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Let's do another breath. Breathing in, filling the lungs, 2, 3, 4. And as you're exhaling, letting go, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then just return to your own natural rhythm. Perhaps bringing awareness to what that was like, what your breath was like. Sometimes our breath is tight. Sometimes it's up close to the chest or the throat. So just bringing a gentle awareness to whatever you noticed. So perhaps asking yourself as we're settling, asking yourself, what do you need to let go of right now to be present? Perhaps something in the day that you need to let go of, or something that's happening in your life right now, personally or at work. So how can we encourage, how can we invite ourselves to let it go for the moment and open up to some nurturing space? So this is a way of helping ourselves look after ourselves. We just need to give ourselves a break sometimes. So just allowing yourself, giving yourself a bit of freedom to say, what do I need to let go of so that I can look after myself right now? So bringing awareness to what thoughts are present. No need to go into the thoughts, just allowing them to be there. We've all got thoughts, but not needing to engage. They're there. They're only thoughts. Same is true of how we're feeling. You know, what emotions are percolating. Sometimes our thoughts have an emotional tone. Sometimes they're difficult, or, you know, we feel distressed, overwhelmed. Sometimes we feel pleasure. So whatever is there, again, just allowing them to be there, not needing to do anything. We're giving ourselves a break from them. And expanding now to being aware of sensations in the body. So there might be a particular sensation that you're noticing. There might be a tightness, or, you know, some knot, right? Some tension that you're noticing. And again, just giving ourselves a friendly, gentle care towards whatever is showing up. We're always so quick to try to fix something, sort it out. And sometimes that just initial moment, we just need to give ourselves some gentle, friendly space. Maybe it's the first time, right, that you've given yourself a break today, or maybe a few days, where there's so much rush just now with everything starting up. So just allowing, giving yourself permission to let go. We don't need to hang on all the time. And now let's come back to the breath. And just follow the breath as it's entering the body and as it's exiting the body. So we're not influencing the breath right now. We're connecting with it as a way of grounding ourselves in this friendly space. So breathing in and breathing out. Breathing in and breathing out. There isn't no need to think, is there a right way or wrong way? We're not concerned about that right now. So we're just following the breath. There's energy in the breath coming into the body and then going out of the body. You get pulled away by thoughts, perhaps emotions. Acknowledge the thought, acknowledge the emotion, gently return to following the breath, wherever it is. You might notice it at the chest, the belly. And as you're following the breath, I'll just read a few lines. Let go of what has passed. Let go of what may come. Let go of what is happening now. Don't try to figure anything out. Don't try to make anything happen. Relax right now and rest. So just kind of soak that in. And at the sound of the bell, you know, you bring yourself back into the next part of the session. And it's always interesting to cultivate the habit of checking in with yourself. So for instance, after that was a very brief settling practice. So after that, you would just check in and, you know, check in, how are you right now? You know, how did that help? And if it did, how did it help? You know, do you feel quieter, or maybe you feel more restless, or whatever? But it's a way of always getting to know how you are in any given moment. So when I thought about doing the session tonight, it was really to continue the work of really promoting mindfulness and to promote mindfulness meditation. Because really our stress levels and our anxious minds and anxious bodies are, things are still very uncertain in our world and very still somewhat unpredictable, I would say. And I think it's to acknowledge that, to respect that's where things are at right now, still in our life. I think they're quite a bit better. I mean, just even having the election was enough to add more stress, perhaps, for some of us, wondering what that was all about. So there's lots, and then there's personal stress, and whatever goes on in our work and our home life, and never short of things to sort out. So I guess always the question is how do we look after ourselves? And so yeah, tonight I'm going to do a practice, because that's how you find out about mindfulness, and how you find out how it can help you. Because it will be recorded at some point, it will be put on YouTube, and you'll be able to visit the practices. And I'm going to give some references before we finish up. One in particular, which is a website that well, if you're interested in the compassionate body scan, that will be a helpful resource for you if you're interested in pursuing more of it. So yeah, I mean, anxiety, stress and anxiety, right, it comes out that I think there's sort of two major aspects to it. One is often about what we're thinking about, right? What worrying thoughts we have, thoughts that are often difficult thoughts. So whatever is going on, sometimes we're perfectionistic, or we're craving something that isn't going to happen, but sort of not being fully embracing of what is. So lots of tensions and difficult emotions. So they come out in the body, and as well as looking at what goes on in your thinking. And often in reflection, it's interesting to look at your thinking, if indeed that's what's producing a bit more anxiety. I mean, it was quite revealing to me personally, quite a long time ago now in my life, because I've experienced anxiety quite significantly, and to the point that I needed to go and get help with it. And there was a turning point for sure when I embraced anxiety, that I really turned it towards it, not as an enemy, but as something to be more friendlier about and more curious about. And that it was, upon some discussions and working on it, it was revealing about some things that I obviously needed to sort out. At that time, I wasn't meditating, so it has been significant to add that into a pool of resources, which I think is a good thing to do in life, is to have a bucket of resources within yourself, because for sure it's never one thing, right? We need to have a mixture of things. So, I mean, what is mindfulness? And, I mean, some of you probably will be aware of what it is. It's really about an invitation to be in the here and now. And I mean, that seems so simple, doesn't it? But in actual fact, it's actually it's quite challenging, because as human beings, we're constantly thinking of what did happen, and we're always thinking about what will be happening, what we have to do. And it keeps pulling us away from right now. And so to be able to really bring yourself to this moment, because this moment is truly the only one that you have control over. And so if we worry about the past, there's not much that we can do about it. And of course, if we worry about, tomorrow, when it's really only Thursday evening, again, we build up and we get connected to quite often patterns or habits that sometimes are not healthy, or they're not helpful for us. There's also a little bit of formality about describing it, right? I mean, the so qualities it's moment that we're trying to develop is training your attention. That is, right? We're trying to be kinder to ourselves, and it's about awareness. And I mean, what do we think huge at any moment in time? Because so many of us are very critical and hard on ourselves. Sensations don't give ourselves a break. Don't give ourselves some space. Can we meet them to be with when things are not going right in our lives? Just like you did when you were a kid, right? We tend to be critical when we were all much harsh, much younger, and we really need to try to develop a gentler soul towards ourselves. We're good at perhaps offering it to others, but not to ourselves, and to engage our senses much more, because we constantly interact in our world through our thinking. And while there is nothing wrong with that, and sometimes we have some interesting thoughts and creative thoughts, sometimes we can get stuck on critical thinking or negative thinking or worrying thinking, and that's never a good thing. So, mindfulness will tell you when that's happening, and if we can give it some space, then we can choose to do something with it. Just to, like, in that settling practice, just to give ourselves a break. There won't be a lot of time probably to go into it, but the brain, there's lots and lots of research that is occurring as we speak about the brain and how the brain can be reshaped, it can be rewired, and this has been an enormously, I think, ongoing. It's very much in its infancy, but it is something worthy, I think, of giving much more homework on, doing a bit of research on, is that we actually can or there's plasticity in the brain. We can in fact rewire and recreate some new pathways, and I think that this is hugely significant. So what is key in that? Key is well-being and looking after yourself and nurturing a kinder attitude and a non-judging attitude. That's also key. Can we be non-judging? Because we're constantly making judgments. I mean, we are. I mean, I've been meditating now for probably years and years, and there's still this judgment that comes up, but I'm aware of the judgments. I'm aware of when I'm doing that, and therefore I can work with it in a different way. So I think that it's probably time for a practice. So I'm going to include working with thoughts. And so before I ring the bell, that's the sign to tell you that we're now going into a practice. It is always to encourage you to either you can lie down, you can stand up. I would probably recommend sitting or lying down. And the important thing is that you bring some attention to your posture and support, so that you want to be awake. You don't want to fall asleep. Just to let you know, you want to be awake, and but you want to be comfortable, and you want to be able to get some support. Yeah, so quite often, sometimes I lean back in the chair because that's what I need that particular moment, and other times I don't. I can be self-supporting. So I leave that up to you to make a choice. Here we go. Just gathering your attention. So bringing a tender awareness to how you are right now. Bringing an awareness to how you're sitting. Your feet are, perhaps you've got socks on, or you've got bare feet, or you've got shoes on. So you bring awareness to that. That's a way of anchoring yourself. Always, the tactile body sensations. So you're sitting in a chair, maybe the back of the chair is supporting you. The whole of the pelvic area is being supported. Maybe your hands are on your thighs. Or if you wanted to, you could put, a hand on your heart, your chest area. That can be a form of comfort, or one on your belly. So again, these are all small choices that you can make. You might want to keep your eyes open if you're tired, end of the day stuff, and just lower them. Or you may want to close them, and which helps to go inside oneself. And just gently, just taking a moment that your posture is one of respect and dignity for yourself. One of gratefulness. Or maybe gratitude for being here tonight and making the time for yourself. That's wonderful. So congratulate yourself. Maybe there's other messages that you wish to give yourself, and just take a moment to do that. Maybe to give compassion to yourself in your posture. And now expanding our awareness to include the breath. So following the breath as it enters the body, right to the very end of an inhale. Then the gentle space as it then goes into an exhale, right to the very end. Again, an open space, beginning of an inhale, right to the very end. And then it just naturally goes into an exhaling breath. So there's this repetitive cycle that goes on, and we don't need to do anything, right? The breath will naturally lead you. So maybe inviting yourself to really feel the breath. So where would that be? Do you feel the breath as the lungs fill and the upper chest expands, or rib cage, and then it deflates as you breathe out? So just noticing, make it interesting, be playful with it, be curious, right? The breath, there's a lot of stuff goes on when we breathe. Maybe you're noticing as you're breathing in, right, you're bringing in oxygen. Again, self-care, the deeper, the better. And then as we're breathing out, we're letting go of lots of toxins and stale air. So gently does it. So we're bringing friendliness, we're bringing a tenderness as we connect with the breath. And just notice if you're thinking about the breath as opposed to feeling the breath. So again, no need to judge. This is not about doing anything right or wrong. This is about the experience as it arises, coming in and going out. And you may already have got pulled away by thoughts. Thoughts about maybe what you have to do later, thoughts about all sorts of things really. And so you just notice that you've drifted off to thoughts, thought processes, thought formats. What do? Like a puppy dog, you gently return to where the breath is. And this is the norm, the busyness, the constant bombardment of thoughts. They arise, pull you away. You just note that. Normal, And then you just gently nudge yourself back to the breath. And it's there. Might be an in-breath or an out-breath, but it's there. And you keep doing that. So let's go to thoughts themselves. So just notice the thoughts in this moment. Just notice, what kind of thoughts do you have right now? So that the breath is still there, but you're placing your attention now on thoughts. So, do you have one thought? Do you have several thoughts? So you just note them. Maybe for a moment there wasn't a thought, maybe, or there was a space in between the thoughts. So we're inviting ourselves to be aware of thoughts, but not engage with them. They're there. So can we allow them to exist, give them some space, but stay on the outside of them? That's the invitation. And if there's a reoccurring thought, okay, so it reoccurs. Maybe you might need to visit that thought. But right now, in this moment, you're inviting yourself to give them space. That's all. Give them some space. And if you need to, come back to the breath to help you do that. And follow the breath, coming in and going out, like waves in the ocean. Coming in, tiny pause, and going out, tiny pause. And the same may be true of emotions. So let's just invite ourselves to how we're feeling, what emotions have percolated up or that you're aware of. And again, being curious about that. Give them some space. A little bit like the sky in some ways, right? There's lots and lots of space when you look at the sky. There's like massive, limitless space in the sky. So sometimes you can just let the thoughts, let the emotions, let them go for the moment and allow you to have some freedom to choose, what's the best thing to do with them. And again, we come back to perhaps the posture, right? Sitting, that dignified posture, focusing on that, or focusing on the breath. So letting go of what has passed, letting go of what may come, letting go of what is happening now. Don't try to figure anything out. Don't try to make anything happen. Relax right now and rest. We all deserve that. Moment by moment awareness. And so then just gently bringing yourself back and into the next part, the next moment, and perhaps inviting yourself just a moment of reflection. And so as I ring the bell, you're inviting some reflection and any comments that you want to make. Yeah, so a pause, right? It's always good to invite a pause in your life. It just allows for a little bit of an interruption into getting carried away with anything. Yeah, I have to say that it's different not seeing people. Yeah. Yeah, I miss that. I miss seeing people. Yeah. I mean, we do anyway, of course. Everybody misses seeing people. But I have to say that on this call, I mean, I'm missing seeing people. Yeah, I think it's a yes. Oh, absolutely. I think Kathy, to do some breath work, to quieten some behaviors. They say that that really promotes learning, right? Because your nervous system is calmer, your parasympathetic branch is you're doing something to quieten yourself, so that is going to then connect to the part of the brain that makes for better judgment and better decision making, and that's true for us as adults as well, that you know, when we are calmer, when we are more relaxed, that really impacts, I think, how we live a life. And we can often we're not so quick to react, perhaps. We're not quite so quick to jump into something. We can kind of stand back. We can listen a little bit more mindfully. And therefore, I think that this is healthy all round. And I think this is just something that we can do for a few minutes, 2 or 3 times a day. So yeah, I mean, they've done some interesting research where they taught kids how to do some breath work. I think mainly deep breathing, and they did it in a humorous manner. And they found when they compared it, they found that kids learned more effectively, particularly with maths. So I wish I had that happened to me, because I had a terrible time with maths. But I think any time that we can calm the central nervous system, so that's there's two branches. One is called the sympathetic, that's the fight or flight, and the other is the parasympathetic. Any time that we can nurture that parasympathetic branch, we are going to help ourselves enormously. We're going to breathe better. We're going to digest better. We're not going to eat so much food. We're going to relax enough to be able to, hopefully pay attention differently. And we're going to sleep better. There's all sorts of things that are, yeah. So, okay. Okay, so thank you for those comments. That's very, very helpful. And so the other main practice is a compassionate body scan. And, this will be a little bit longer than 10 minutes. And I don't think I'll ring the bells again. I think that I'm just going to set it up that, again, to calm our system, to reduce agitation in our body, because our bodies tell us huge amounts of things if we pay attention to it. So a body scan can be done in 3 minutes. You either start from the top of the head down to the feet, or the other way around, or you can take a longer period of time. And I was introduced to this just before the summer started, and I thought it was very powerful. And it's really the language that is different. And so parts of the body are often neutral, and we don't feel anything, and perhaps we can learn to appreciate that more and offer gratitude. But there's other parts of our body that are not, that don't feel good. They're tight, they're tense, they're knotted. They just feel awful. So then we need to give kindness to them. We need to relax. We need to give different messages. And that really is what this compassionate body scan is. So again, body scans are often helpful lying down. I'm sitting up. I'm sure some of you are sitting up. So again, you'll at home, if you're interested, you'll try both. Experiment and see what works for you. Okay, so finding a comfortable position. And again, you might want to put your hand on your heart. They say that having skin on skin, feeling the warmth of a hand is a very soothing and very kind, and it releases the oxytocin hormones, which is a good thing. And we're going to really teach ourselves to bring awareness, but to bring friendly awareness, affectionate awareness to ourselves. So you'll often feel the warmth and the gentle touch of your hands. And we're going to begin by taking three breaths. So again, breathing in through the nostrils as deeply as you can, using the belly. And then as we're breathing out, we're letting go. And again, breathing in, just feeling wherever the breath is right now. It's a good friend to have if we connect with it. And breathing out. And the last one. Breathing in. And as you're breathing out, again, letting go. Letting go of whatever you need to let go of. So we're going to move our attention, right? So training our attention to go right down to the feet. So bringing awareness to the toes on both the right or left. So in terms of time, I'm going to do both at the same time. So at the soles of the feet, the toes, maybe you might want to wiggle your toes, the upper part of your feet, the soles, the heels. And so really, really paying attention to any sensations that you notice there. It could be warmth, could be cold, could be neutral. Your feet really, right, they hold you up, right? We walk, they exercise, they take us places, so they're constantly being used. So if whatever sensations are there, you might want to give some gratitude to your feet. Or if your feet are tired and they're achy and they don't feel very good, you might want to give some tenderness to them. And now moving up to include the ankles, the lower leg. So that's the shin on both the right and the left, and the calves. You might find that the calves are rubbing against pants if you've got them on, or against the chair. So just again, this gentle, friendly attention that you're training yourself to place systematically, bit by bit. And sometimes if something is sore and you can put your hand on that particular area and feel your hand, feel the warmth of your hand. Sometimes people might massage a little bit if they can. So just gently caressing, easing away any discomfort. Now moving our attention up to the knees. Again, these are a huge source of weight bearing, right? The kneecaps, the front, the back, the sides. Again, just tenderly paying attention to whatever is there. Just paying attention to, without judgment, if there's a painful association with that part of the body, if it's too much, then just go back to the toes or an elbow, something that's neutral. If that's too much, again, work with it skillfully. So now moving our attention up to the thighs, the front of the thighs, the backs, the sides. Again, maybe some of the thigh is being supported by the chair. And let's include the hips, the right and the left hip, the huge joints. And again, just noticing with focused, friendly attention. What do you notice? And what is needed? What is needed? Sometimes something is neutral, so we just need to acknowledge it's in good shape, or it's fine. And sometimes, it might not be fine. So now moving up to the whole of the pelvic area, right? There's our organs, lots of organs are housed there, and lots of spaces in between the organs. And again, this could be sensitive areas in our life. And again, we acknowledge what's there for us. If there's a painful association, then can we give some extra love? Can we tenderly place our hand and feel the warmth of our hand on it? And if it's neutral, it's just thanking that part of the body for whatever reason you want to thank it. Now moving to the back, to the buttocks, right? To the buttocks that we're sitting on, the lower back, the middle of the upper back. Again, this could be, commonly, right? It's an area of tightness or source of discomfort for many people. And so we tenderly explore what's showing up for you right now in this moment. And recognizing that, any sensations that come up, whatever they are, we can meet them not necessarily with, negativity or worry or concern, but just trying to expand and say, okay, what's needed. I need to support myself. I need to just loosen, or maybe direct the breath to that area. So now we're focusing our attention on the shoulders, right? The large shoulder joints. And we can move our attention from the shoulder joints all the way down the upper arms, the elbows, the lower arms, the wrists, the hands and the fingers. So just again, noticing any energy there. Maybe the palms are warm, moist, maybe not, maybe they're dry. Maybe they might feel coolish. Noticing the different fingers, shapes and sizes. And now moving our attention back up, all the way back up to the neck. So the back of the neck, the front, the sides. So again, universally, right, the neck. And we're staring at screens so often that, again, what's needed here? What do you notice? Maybe there's some tightness. Maybe you're holding something there emotionally, maybe not. It's a pretty significant part of the body when you think about it, right? It's connecting our head with the rest of the body. Do we need to soften? Do you need to let go of the shoulders? Just loosen them, right? So often they're up at the ears. So can we just loosen the shoulders and just again regard the neck and just gently explore what's there. And now moving up, right, to include the ears up to the top of the very top of the head, and the brain, the skull, the forehead, the eyes, all those muscles around the eyes. Can we soften? Can we just let go? The nostrils, the nostrils, the mouth, the gums, the teeth, the tongue. Again, just this gentle exploration What's there? What do you notice? What's called for? And just noticing the jaws. Often there are areas where that people experience tightness. So again, if that's the case, do you need to let go? And just tenderly let yourself know that it's normal for emotions, right, to somewhere be connecting to certain parts of our body. So what do we need to do with that? Not criticize, that's for sure, but perhaps acknowledge. And now we're going to move down to the belly, moving up to the front of the torso, the whole of the lungs and the chest cavity and the heart, often described as the seat of our emotions. Yeah, so maybe offering our little bit of our heart to ourselves. Yeah, just gently conveying that whatever is here right now, it's okay. It's okay. We're here. You're here. We're here. So now we'll focus a little bit on the belly and perhaps just breathing, just infusing into the entire body awareness, gentle, friendly, compassionate awareness, just filling the whole of the body, maybe from the tip of the toes right to the top of the head. Just breathing in, calm, breathing in some peace, some calm, even a little bit, you might not feel that you want to, do the whole thing. So just a little bit. Maybe you want to give some extra care and love to parts of the body that you noticed. Maybe offer gratitude to the other parts. And just allowing yourself some space. Just some space that is for you. Doesn't belong to anybody else right now. Right? Nowhere to go, nothing else to do. Focusing on self-care. I mean, that's a very healthy thing, I think. And very gently coming back into the room. And just letting yourself be for a moment. Again, perhaps offering some reflection after the practice. Just taking your time. And in your reflection, perhaps you might want to make a comment. You might not, and that's okay too. It's okay to be quiet. Yeah. Yeah. So there. That was about 20 minutes, and you can do it shorter or longer. You can modify it, and sometimes it's helpful to do a practice in a lengthier manner because you learn a lot more, and then you can work with it in different ways, right? Um, so I'd be curious to know if you do have any comments. How was it for you? Did you find it revealing? Yeah. Okay, so that's a great question. When you do the scan and feel tension, yeah, pain in an area, what are some ways to address that? So I think that's a great question. And I think one of the things that you can do is you can go to the edge of a discomfort. So sometimes when you go into the center of a pain, or a discomfort, there's lots of ways of describing it, right? Sometimes it can make it worse. So sometimes we have to be gradual and have to be a little bit kind of gentler with ourselves. So it's like, even with an emotion, right? Sometimes you don't want to kind of go right into it. You just want to kind of stay on the edge of it and kind of keep working with it. So sometimes just letting yourself know, okay, I can do this slowly and gradually. The other thing is to bring the breath. If the breath is a fairly safe anchor, you could bring the breath. So you direct the breath. Let's say I often have a sore shoulder. So I bring it to the shoulder. And then as I'm breathing out, I soften because I'm letting go, right? An exhaling breath is always a relaxing breath. So I take it to the edge, or maybe I've got a tightness in, say, one side of my neck. So I literally visually bring the focus there, and I breathe into it, and as I breathe out, I deliberately and consciously soften that area. And sometimes those are the two that I'm most familiar with. Yeah, sometimes moving can be helpful. Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes moving, sometimes we sit in positions, or we don't, I mean, I didn't give any instruction about that, but, sometimes we can say, if you need to move, move, but do so mindfully. And sometimes if we move, because, we've been sitting for an hour, and that might help, actually, just something as simplistic as that. So maybe those can be helpful to you. But those are great questions, and I think I will emphasize that our body. To me, it's something that we're not taught enough about in our world, in our culture. That going to the body is another pathway into finding out things about yourself. So sometimes if we can't come to an emotion because it's just too painful, maybe if we're used to going to the body, maybe that's another way of accessing something. And so I think yoga, right, which many some of you might go to yoga classes. I found that very helpful along the way. And so stretching, muscles that get tight, and working with that tightness, yeah, for sure, it has been enormously helpful. So the first thing is, that's what mindfulness does for you, is that if you train your attention, you check in with yourself, you are bringing awareness to whatever it is. So in this case, it's the body scan, and that will tell you some things, just like awareness of your breath. Your breath can tell you lots of things, because sometimes, if your breath is kind of up here, it's right at your chest, you say, because when we breathe in a shallow manner, it will probably make anxiety worse. That's why, I don't know if I did it tonight, I can't remember, but that's why it's always good to exhale first. Always exhale first, because that is emptying some of the lungs, some of that carbon dioxide and staleness. And then that is going to help you take in a deeper breath. Yeah, it's a simple tip, but it's very, very effective. And that's a good thing to teach kids. It's a good thing to teach others. There are a number of breath practices that can be enormously helpful. The 4-7-8 is very helpful, and by somebody called Andrew Weil. or Weil, W-E-I-L. I didn't ask Sue about him, but I'm fairly confident that the library has got his work. He's a Harvard-educated physician, but he is also he's been educated in Eastern medicine. So he now heads up an integrative medicine faculty at a university in the States. And his work is great. And he's done a lot of work with breath work with people with anxiety. So he advocates the 4-7-8 breath, right? So you breathe out first, come in for 4, hold for 7, and then exhale for 8. And the key to any of the breath exercises is to do it consistently, because when we get stressed and when we get anxious, that's not the time to start to learn, because you're too uptight. You just can't recall it. In fact, you'll probably feel worse. So if we do that, it's like developing a new habit. It's like brushing your teeth. After you brush your teeth every morning, try to do a breath exercise. I'm just throwing that as an example. You may not want to do that, but yes, there's Andrew Weil. Yeah, and if you go on YouTube, you'll find him he's a larger than life character, but he's done a lot of interesting things, and he's highly regarded. Yeah, so he's a big believer in mindfulness. And I'm advocating you bring mindfulness to your everyday life. If you want to have a formal practice, then that would be like what we're doing, where you're sitting doing a body scan, or you're doing the kindness practice that we'll end with. And yeah. And that's when you sit, you allocate time, and you say, okay, you know what, every morning, I'm going to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning and meditate. No, I'm kidding, honestly. But sometimes people do it first thing in the morning, and sometimes people do it last thing at night, and whatever suits, but they do it regularly. So guess what? When they're driving along the 401 and they start to have anxiety rising because of traffic and whatever is going on, they will be able to call on that as a tool. And the other thing that Sue has just done is, and Chris Germer is very worthy of looking at his website. So chrisgermer.com, and he's the one that I did the compassionate body scan, that he introduced me to that. He does affectionate breathing. You might be interested in that. And he works with a lady called Kristen Neff, Neff, and I think the library also has that as a resource. And these are people that have been doing this stuff forever. They haven't come into it because it's trendy. Which it is trendy, I think, just now. So, so the only other comment that I want to make is that, I think there's other ways of dealing with stress and anxiety, and, your mood being, not great, your mood being up and down or in between. And I think it's important to, recognize that, regular physical exercise, having interests in life that you can kind of distract yourself from. Like, I think that's another way of giving yourself a rest. I think being out in nature is huge for a lot of people. Gardening is another thing. Having a pet is another aspect. So just to let you know that we can improve our brain functioning. We can improve our brain functioning by all of that. But underlying it all is this wonderful quality of mindfulness. So it has been my own experience that when we can bring mindfulness to whatever it is that we're doing, whether it's sitting having a cup of tea, whether it's having a shower, not thinking about what we have to do, not wondering about this and about that, but actually bringing our attention to that whatever that is, enhances the quality of your experience. So when we're feeling terrible, if in fact we go out for a walk and we can bring mindfulness to that walk, then it is going to be a completely different experience. because you're going to be looking at the sky, you're going to be feeling whether it's warm, whether it's cold, you're going to be noticing trees, you're going to be noticing gardens, maybe there's a sound or a noise comes by. So it's, instead of that, what do we normally do? We start thinking, oh my gosh, like I'm really worried about this, or, that didn't happen, or he said, she said, I have to make that call. I wonder why this happened, I think hopefully you get what I'm so mindful eating is another way of experimenting. A lot of the time we cook, we prepare, we cook and we eat, and we have not been aware of any of it. That's common. I mean, most people, I'm not saying that everybody's like that on the call, please, but I'm just saying it's very common. And so it's interesting, right? So you take a cup of tea and you apply mindfulness to it. You eat an apple and you apply mindfulness to it. You will find that it's a completely different experience, because you're engaging your senses, you're smelling, you're tasting, you're seeing, right? Instead of engaging our mind. Yeah. It's important to engage our mind, but it's equally important to engage our senses. Okay. If there's, is there anything you want to check in with me? Because I'm going to do the last practice. Oh, sorry, here's somebody, wait a minute. Yes. Yes, I think that really resonates to me, that one of our participants has shared that by being more aware that you're more grateful for things that you take for granted, and let's face it, any of us only focus on parts of our body when they're not working right. I mean, when I became unwell, fortunately many years back, but it was a turning point in my life, and I remember I had just taken my health for granted. I had not in any way understood that my body could break down. So I think I'm just affirming that I couldn't agree more. That and let's face it, if we can do that, it's a great balancer in life, isn't it? If we can really focus on aspects that are working well in our life, right, then that's going to help us deal with the other parts of our life that are not working so well. And how do we do that, right? That's why, like maybe doing a gratitude practice is very helpful. So what you're saying is great. That if we can look at the parts of our body that are functioning well and that we're grateful for that, then perhaps that's going to give us some strength to look at the parts that aren't so good. Yeah, so I think that was how I felt. I think it was good, right? Because we're wired to focus on the negative. We're wired to go to what isn't working okay, right? The classic, right? We've all had a good day, but one thing horrible happens, okay, that becomes the focus of the day, and we carry it into the evening, then maybe we don't sleep very well, then we wake up, and so it goes on. And I think it's to find ways of breaking into all that stuff. Yeah, so thank you very much for your comments. Sue has gone and put up, you probably see that, the Kristen Neff. If you're interested in any of the research, you should read anything by Richard Davidson, Dr. Richard Davidson. And I know that because I asked Sue the last time we did this. I think it's called Altered Traits, and the library does have that. And but that book is now about 4 years old, I think. But still, for anybody that's interested in finding out about how to improve your brain functioning, I'm certainly interested in it as I'm aging, which yeah. So we will. Are you looking that up, Sue? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So. Yes. So. So we're going to do a kindness practice, which will be a few minutes, won't be very long. And there you go, altered traits. Yes, so Dr. Richard Davidson. You could go on YouTube and you'll hear him talk. He's quite, I find him attractive and quite compelling to listen to. And he's the one that has done, well, there's several people that have done major research as neuroscientists, but you would enjoy listening to him. You know, he simplifies very complicated things. So okay. So we will not quite say goodnight, but we'll do our practice and then finish up for the evening. Yeah. So listening to the bells. So bringing a moment of gratitude, yeah, to everyone, yeah, to Sue, to all of the participants tonight, and yeah, just a thank you. Thank you. From one heart to everybody else's heart. Yeah, so you know, a kindness practice comes from the Buddhist practice. Doesn't matter which part of Buddhism. There's a loving kindness practice, which you know, I usually modify it, but it's certainly about learning to express love and care to oneself, but also to others. So just given our time frame, we'll do something along those lines. And so perhaps bringing yourselves into a seated, comfortable posture. Some of you might be lying down, I realize that. So whatever position that you have decided to take, always it's with ease, always with a view to being able to sustain a practice. So you want to be comfortable, you want to be awake. And again, this quiet pause in between instruction, just to give to ourselves. I think silence sometimes is quite a quite a luxury these days. And again, just a way of grounding ourselves, stabilizing ourselves. You might want to, you know, do some let's do a couple of straw breaths. So when you're breathing in through the nostrils, you then breathe out as though you were breathing out like a straw. And so that helps us. So we purse our lips. So breathing in, 2, 3, 4, out through pursed lips, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And again, in, 2, 3, 4, out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we're extending the exhaling. In, 2, 3, 4, out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And so in a loving kindness practice, you could again have the breath, we have the posture, we can always go to the body if we need to, just as a way of keeping us anchored. but I will choose some statements, and as I read them, you can say them to yourself in private. You can do them through the breath if you want to, into the body. So I'll give some instruction as we go along. But certainly it is the invitation is to open your heart to yourself and to others. And even if that's unfamiliar, uncomfortable, it is in fact just maybe you want to just take a little bit of your heart. Yeah, you don't need to. And again, if you're not comfortable with it, don't worry. It's okay. Do whatever you're at ease with. Give yourself complete permission. May I be safe. May I be safe. So you might want to breathe that in. May I be safe. So this would be you giving messages to yourself. May I be safe. And may I find ease of mind and heart. May I find ease of mind and heart. So just breathing that in right to the very cellular level of your body. May I be safe. May I find ease of mind and heart. And may I be quiet in the midst of struggle. May I be quiet in the midst of struggle. May I release the old and welcome the new. So whatever that may be for you. So breathing in, may I release the old and welcome the new. May I be safe. May I find ease of mind and heart. May I be quiet in the midst of struggle. And may I release the old and support the new. So you may want to choose someone in your life that that needs some extra attention or extra care. So you bring that person to mind. You might see them, might be able to smell them, right? Some people have got a definite sort of smell, or anyway, you can see them, you can sense them, you have a picture of them. May you be safe. May you be safe. And may you find ease of mind and heart. Breathing that in and conveying it to them. May you find ease of mind and heart. And may you be quiet in the midst of struggle. May you be quiet in the midst of struggle. And may you release the old and welcome the new. So now you're going to put yourself back in the picture, and you're going to place someone that you love and that you care for very, very much. I mean, whoever that may be, just someone that you choose, that you get on with, and that they're in this little circle with you. And then we go back to the conveying of these messages. May we be safe. May we be safe. May we find ease of mind and heart. May we find ease of mind and heart. And may we be quiet in the midst of struggle. may we be quiet in the midst of struggle, and may we release the old and welcome the new. Maybe there's a message as we're bringing the session to a close. Maybe you might want to say something to yourself, that's personal, something that you want to convey to yourself right now. You might want to breathe it in right to the very bone of your existence. Hand on heart, perhaps. And I will close by saying thank you to Sue. Thank you to the library. I know that Sue has gone and put some references in the chat, and to bid you all a safe taking care of yourself. I'm going to do something in the new year with Sue and the library, perhaps at the very beginning of February. So until, as they say in Scotland, until we meet again. And we will. That's the great thing about here, right? I live in Whitby, so I'm not that far away from everybody. Yeah, so, and who knows, maybe one day we'll be able to actually go to the library. Oh my gosh, that would be wonderful.
Thank you so much, Joan. Yeah, here I am in this huge room all by myself.
Oh, I know, it brings back positive memories for me.
Me too.
Yeah, so people are saying thank you, and
Thank you so much for coming, everyone.
Yeah, we will receive your thanks graciously and warm-heartedly.